We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
It's a new year. Welcome to 2023 and welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lupkin, and here's the news you need to know. Southwest Airlines has promised to reimburse customers for meals, hotel, and alternate transportation following its disastrous cancellation spree. The airline cut thousands of flights because of inclement weather across the country and its operational structure, which left it unable to bounce back from the initial scheduling issues. In response to the disruption, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg wrote to Southwest's CEO, calling the cancellations unacceptable. Several senators have also called for investigations against Southwest, with Senator Bernie Sanders, independent socialist from Vermont, writing that the government must hold Southwest's CEO accountable for his greed and incompetence. The airline is expected to resume normal expectations on Friday. The company apologized in a statement saying, "We know even our deepest apologies to our customers, to our employees, and to all affected through this disruption only go so far." Representatives on both sides of the aisle have criticized Pete Buttigieg for his response to the crisis, labeling him an absentee landlord as all of this unraveled on his watch. The S&P 500 closed out 2022, making the worst year for the index since 2008, finishing with an annual loss of 19.4%. It's just the third annual decline since the financial crisis 14 years ago, and a painful reversal for investors after the S&P 500 notched a gain of nearly 27% in 2021, writes the Associated Press. All told, the index lost $8.2 trillion in value, according to S&P Dow Jones indices. All three of the major stocks ended three-year win streaks in 2022, with the Dow Jones doing the best relatively, down about 8.8%, while the NASDAQ fared the worst, down 33.1%. Sticky inflation and aggressive rate hikes from the Federal Reserve battered growth in technology stocks and weighed on investor sentiment throughout the year, CNBC explained, while geopolitical concerns, volatile economic data, and incompetent policies by the White House also kept markets on edge. In a win for abortion rights groups, an Arizona court ruled that doctors cannot be prosecuted under an 1864 ban on all abortions, except in cases to save the patient's life. The law, which predates Arizona's statehood and had been barred from being enforced for years, was blocked on the grounds that subsequent Arizona laws do allow for the procedure. The decision means that Arizona's state law, which bans abortions after 15 weeks, will remain in place. It is very clear with no uncertainty that abortion is safe and legal in Arizona through 15 weeks of pregnancy, said Brittany Forteno, the president of Planned Parenthood Arizona. The Attorney General's attempts to take us back to 1864 are not going to be allowed in Arizona. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin met virtually before the new year to solidify their partnership. The meeting comes as Russia faces unprecedented pressure in the war against Ukraine, CNN reports. At the same time, China is facing the repercussions of its zero COVID policy and a new rise in COVID cases. Both countries have continued to strengthen ties amid global opposition. China notably has refused to condemn Russia's actions in Ukraine, opting instead to blame the US and Western allies for the escalation of conflict. In the face of increasing geopolitical tensions, the significance of the Russian-Chinese strategic partnership is growing as a stabilizing factor, said Putin during the meeting. Added Xi, in the face of a difficult and far from unambiguous international situation, we are ready to build up strategic cooperation with Russia. In a New Year's Eve address, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un described South Korea as its undoubted enemy, cited threats from the U.S., and vowed an exponential increase in Pyongyang's nuclear weapon arsenal. Kim said the recent joint military drills between South Korea and the U.S. highlight the importance and necessity of a mass producing of tactical nuclear weapons, and called for his nation to overwhelmingly beef up its military capabilities. South Korea's defense ministry responded to Kim's threats by calling his comments provocative language that seriously harms peace and stability of the Korean peninsula. On Saturday, North Korea also said it tested a number of nuclear-capable short-range ballistic missiles, followed by another test on Sunday. Hours before Illinois put into effect a bill allowing criminals more ways to escape justice, the state Supreme Court issued a stay on the removal of cash bail. The so-called Safety, Accountability, Fairness, and Equity Today Act, which went into effect on January 1st, has been slammed by critics like Orland Park Mayor Keith Pecor as the most dangerous law I've ever seen. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the bill, an overhaul of criminal justice and policing in the state. A coalition of law enforcement agencies from across the state have since slammed Pritzker's move, criticizing the Democratic governor for choosing to listen to a few student political voices rather than the 120,000 petition-signing citizens who plainly saw this bill for what it is. A rookie New York City police officer who'd only graduated on Friday and was on his first day on the job was attacked on New Year's Eve near Times Square by a man with a machete, the New York Post reports. The rookie officer was slashed on the head and suffered a large laceration and skull fracture, but is expected to recover. Another officer was also struck on the head during the incident and suffered a laceration and is likewise expected to recover. The police shot the 19-year-old suspect during the attack, striking him in the shoulder, according to sources. He was subsequently arrested. I want to be clear that the FBI, through the Joint Terrorism Task Force, is working very closely with NYPD to determine the nature of this attack, the FBI's Michael Driscoll told the press. Mayor Eric Adams stressed there is no active threat to the city. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.